Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio with Bryan Leonard and Ralph Michaels. We're going to break down a big one Saturday afternoon in college basketball as we've got number 3 Kansas heading to Baylor, ranked number 4. This is a great game, guys, for the Big 12. And set the stage on this one. You got Kansas. They're coming off a big game this week. They had a monster revenge game as they played West Virginia earlier in the week. Got the revenge, but it wasn't as easy as anticipated. They had to go to overtime, and they did get revenge for that big loss that they suffered at West Virginia earlier in the year. I'll start with you, Bryan. Looking at this one here, we're projecting this to be somewhere around Baylor, a bucket better than Kansas for the number. We'll see what that comes out at. Baylor coming off a loss, Kansas coming off a win. How do you see this one?
Well, Baylor, if you're going to play Baylor, at least in my opinion, you'd want to play them at home. I like their defense. They've got, at least to me, the better defense than Kansas. But Kansas has gone on the road and shown that they can win. I mean, they've gone to Kentucky and really impressed against Kentucky shorthanded. And then that game against West Virginia the other day, they come back and was able to win that one. I think that was a little bit of a surprise. I really like this West Virginia team, but I made Kansas 0.3 in this game. So if I can get the 2, as you pointed out, I'd be looking at the Kansas. Anytime I can get 2 points or better against my power ratings, that's the way I'm going to look. So if that's the number, I'll look at the Kansas side. Although, like I said, Baylor at home, if I'm going to play Baylor, that would be the side I would play. I prefer them at home over the road. But if that number comes out, I'll be looking at Kansas.
Obviously, Ralph, this is a big game as far as the Big 12 goes. You've got the 3 premier teams being West Virginia, Baylor, and Kansas. With Kansas coming off the big revenge game, and it's Baylor that's playing with revenge here, is that an advantage for Baylor?
Well, both teams off midweek, so again, you get your players healthy, you have your players rested. No real edge, but just something to look forward to. The coaching comes a little more into play. I think it's too tough of a situation for Kansas. Kansas, an elite team, but take a look at their last 4 games. They were off a loss. They trailed Kansas State with 4.5 minutes to go, needed to come back, 3-point win. They trailed Texas Tech with 2 minutes and 17 seconds to go, came back for a 1-point win. Trailed West Virginia by 14 with under 4 minutes to go, needed overtime. Asking a team to do that now on the 3rd road game in 4 times, with those situations of having to come back. Baylor, my number 6 defense in the country. I actually like the home team here.
Baylor, you talked about that defense. They're allowing just 39.1% shooting against them. You know, that makes, you're going to have to work for every bucket you get. The one thing that I will point out in this one, and you talk about Kansas, yes, they've had their recent struggles. The Kansas State game, I throw that one out because that's always a war. When they, that's Kansas State's game of the year every year. It means more to them than it does to Kansas. And they took them to the limit. And then the game after that, they might have had one eye peeking ahead to West Virginia a little bit. But what I like about Kansas in this one is if you go back to the first meeting, and this is what I like about conference play, is when you do get them that they have 2 meetings. I hate the conferences that have gotten so big that you don't get 2 meetings every year. But this one we do is if you look at the first meeting, when they played Baylor, that was the game immediately after the Kentucky game. And that was such a huge game for Kansas. I know your conference games are bigger, they're supposed to be, but when you're playing a national powerhouse like Kentucky that you might be facing down the road in the big dance, I think that was a big game. And the fact that Kansas was still able to win, they didn't cover, but they were able to win that one, I think that sets them up here. That's going to get them a little bit of line value. I'm hoping that we get that 2, maybe 2.5, and I would lean with you, Bryan. I lean to Kansas plus the points there. So we got 2 votes for Kansas, 1 for Baylor. We'll see what happens on this one as we head to the weekend. We'll be watching that one. And guys, if you want to save $10 at Wager Talk this week, we've got a coupon code for you in honor of the number 1 team in the country. We're going to go, and that's Gonzaga. We're going to go with the coupon code ZAGS and the number 10. That's ZAGS and the number 10, and you can save $10 on any package at Wager Talk this weekend. Check it out at WagerTalk.com. We'll be back with more